Hi, welcome to the DIY Photo Organising podcast. I'm Fiona from Photo Helper.
And I'm Chantal from Simply in Order Photo Organising. Imagine you can find any photo at any time at the click of a button. We are here to show you how.
So let's get started.
Hello and welcome to our latest episode in DIY Photo Organising. Today we are going to speak about KonMari your photos. Is that a good idea or not?
Yeah,
Hi,
exactly.
Fiona.
Hello.
So it's obviously very trending at the moment. Everyone talks about KonMari, and we thought, look, we're going to have a look at her method.
Yep.
And talk about it with regards to photos.
Fantastic.
So we'll just kind of, I think, give you guys a bit of an overview about her method in general, in case you haven't heard of it or haven't read the book yet, or seen the latest Netflix series.
Yes.
And then dig a bit deeper and look at what she suggests how to go through photos and what we like about it and what we would do differently. There are a few things, so yeah.
Fantastic.
Shall we have a look at her overall methodology?
Absolutely.
Yeah?
Yep, let's do that. So if you're not familiar, the lady's name is Marie Kondo. So there's a buzz out there. It's called the KonMari Organising method of tidying up, and she sparks joy everywhere she goes. She's just absolutely gorgeous, really. I think she's just really, she's really sweet. And I think on the whole, you know, if there's anything that can add a new motivation for people to get themselves organised, do some things that they've been wanting to do, then, you know, it's a win-win all round, I think. So overall, fundamentally, that's sort of, my idea and thought on that one too. But yeah, her general method is just as a sort of a quick snapshot, and there's a lot of stuff out there, so you can always Google KonMari, which is KonMari, as a method of organising. So her general idea is that you declutter all at once. So she says, just try and get it all done quickly, rather than taking a long time to organise. So that's her first sort of concept. Then she talks about working by category rather than by location, not doing a room at a time, but a category of items at a time. Then she talks about her biggest catchphrase is what sparks joy, and talks about if the item sparks joy for you in your own life. And then she goes through the sequence of how to do, you know, which areas to go through and declutter first. So talking about clothes, and then books, documents, and then other miscellaneous items, and then at the end, the sentimental items. Which is the photos. Exactly. So what's the KonMari method, so to speak, Chantal, as far as the doing that on your photos? So the last category in the group, what's her sort of breakdown as far as that goes?
Yes. So she does say, she actually only touches on photos kind of very briefly only in her book, and maybe I have to mention also that I did try her method, but only for the clothes and the books, and I have to say it worked really well for me.
Yeah, I did it with my kids' clothes in their drawer. Yes. It's still KonMari in the drawer. Yes. I love it.
Yes, I like it.
They love it. It's great.
Not for everyone, like you mentioned before, but, you know, it's good. And even if you take only a few things from what she suggests, that's better than nothing.
Exactly.
So with photos, what she suggests is to gather all your printed photos, and she speaks, I think, almost exclusively about printed photos in the books. Obviously, you know, we all have digital photos too, and I think we'll try to talk a bit about digital too, but it's mainly about printed photos. So gather it all and then create like subcategories. It's the same principle that she would use with clothes, where you have, tops and pants and undies and what have you. So in photos, you would have loose photos, negatives, photos in envelopes, photos in frames, albums, all these. So she says, make a pile of each of this category and collect it all in one place. And then once you've got that, she kind of works through each pile, and that's her, one of her key things to hold each photo, and decides whether it sparks joy. Though I have to say, though, too, that apparently, we mustn't forget that she comes from a different culture and a different religious background as well. And I think it has been mentioned in the past that the word spark joy has actually been translated not quite right in Japanese. It doesn't, but that's probably the best translation they could come up with, because people say like, yeah, but, how can a toilet brush spark joy? That's ridiculous. But part of that problem lies in the translation, I think. So, it's not everything makes us happy, but if we get, when we touch it and we feel like, oh, that makes me feel good and happy, then it's a keeper. Yeah. So that's what she says. And then she also says to, if you have like a bigger event, like a holiday or, a party or something, to keep only up to 5 photos per day for that event. So that's another kind of rule she's put out there. And she's also mentioned in the book somewhere that the basic approach to negatives is to discard them. We'll get back to that.
We'll get to that one, yes.
And what she then says in the end, that all the photos you keep, you put them in an album, and all the rest you throw away. Yep. So that's basically
that's her main sort of principles of that method.
What she describes in the book.
And how she goes through. Yeah. Okay.
So
maybe what we'll do now is just have a look at what we like about that. Yeah. So what we thought we'd tell you, obviously, if you're finding the podcast and you're thinking about the KonMari method, or you're familiar with it, and you're just wondering whether or not you should do this with your photos and how it sort of fits in, and just also obviously if you've listened to our previous episodes and know about our golden rules, we just thought it would be helpful for you, for us to be able to go through this with you and just sort of talk about what we liked about that, how it does relate to what we do as photo organisers, and how we're really helping and guiding you along the way with your own DIY projects. So what we thought might be useful for you just in this method, and what we liked about the KonMari method as far as how you could apply this with your own photos, is we like that you're doing this, first of all, if you're going to do the KonMari sort of method with other things in your home, we definitely agree to keep these items to the last sort of step. It's definitely something that we wholeheartedly agree with, in KonMari's process, in the KonMari method of process, because you really do learn about yourself, and it's a habit. It's changing a mindset, and that takes time to start, just decluttering in general. And so we really do agree that if you are going through that process through the rest of the house, just sit tight and do your photos at the end if you're doing that. If you're really listening to this because you're already just mainly focusing on your photos, then jump straight in.
Then you're probably ready.
Exactly. But that's one thing that we do like about her, that we agree with, and we like about that We also really agree and like, and we talk about this in our golden rules, to gather everything. So that's definitely something that we fully agree that's, it's just a really good practice to know what you've got. And so we don't just talk about the photos and albums. We talk about the old USB sticks, and we're talking about everything photo related.
Yes.
So because it's a mix of digital and print.
Yeah.
So that's something that we would just include those old CDs, DVDs, and the hard drives, and all of the digital stuff as well, phones and devices and all of that. We also go through and agree, and we definitely support, and we talk about sorting like with like.
Yes.
So when we do go through on our episode 6, when we talk about the printed photos, we go through, and that just it just works with our logical minds of you just group things. It also means you have a bit of a quick win. You feel like you're getting somewhere when you've just got this big pile of box of stuff, and so I think that's definitely helpful and useful in that step that she goes through. And we also agree, pick the best and display them and go through and look. We definitely talk about getting rid of photos. It's not a taboo. It's not something that you can't ever do. It's just because they're a photo doesn't mean that you can't throw out duplicates and blurry ones and stuff that don't mean anything anymore to you and things like that. So we agree with that.
Yeah.
What are some of the things we would do differently, Chantal, say with the KonMari process of photos?
Yeah. There are a few things. So one thing that she mentioned, and did I mention that before? Maybe not. I'm not sure. That in her book she says that it's best to pull everything out of albums and then to decide what to keep and what not to keep. So I kind of agree with some of it, but not completely.
Yeah.
I think you need to differentiate. For example, if you're a scrapbooker and you've got beautifully composed albums, that'd be probably a shame to just rip them apart and pull these photos out.
Just to hold it.
And to be able to hold it and make a decision, that'd be really, really, I don't know. I don't really see much point in that. I would probably not do that. Depends again though a bit on what you want. What do you want to do with these photos in the end? So it all comes, as you mentioned before, it all comes back kind of to our 5 golden rules, and that's more a bit the why rule. Knowing your why, the second golden rule. And another thing though, however, in a case I would agree with her, if you have these magnetic albums, these sticky ones, because they are actually damaging your photos. So yes, I do agree, take them out and get rid of it. It's better for them to be out of these albums. Yeah. But there's not, for me it's a bit too much black and white. Yeah. Yeah. How about you? What do you reckon?
I agree. I think that there can be a time and a place for that as far as holding each photo. And I think the physical process of touching something and making that decision is, that makes sense. I just think, especially with some albums that are old, and it can, the fundamental sort of structure of that album is also part of that memory and that legacy as well. And so that's when we talk about scanning a page of an album and then keeping that intact. I think that is, it doesn't necessarily need to be dismantled for those decisions to be made as far as what you end up doing with the album. I mean, we're not saying keep every old photo just because it's an old photo.
No.
We're not, but we are definitely saying if there is some kind of a legacy that's being passed down through the generations, then part of that history is in the design of that photo album, and so scanning that to be able to give to others is definitely something that, it's just, we're just saying that it's not necessarily appropriate to have to take all the photos out in every album to make the decisions. Yeah.
I agree.
Yeah. What else have we got there that we don't necessarily, that we would do differently? Some of the things.
What would you do differently?
Well, I one of the things that I would say is, as far as the five photos per day.
Yeah, right.
I would definitely not hold myself to that. I mean, I think, again, in a general way, to sort of, limit the amount of photos you're keeping of an event or something like that. But really, I mean, it's such a personal decision. You could have a family event where you've seen, a group of family members, and they're the only, like, you might have really 100 photos. Yeah. And you're not going to throw all of them out, because they're just really, obviously all important. So I just think, again, it's just be free to do what you feel is right. Use your judgment. Don't put boundaries around yourself necessarily that you don't have to. Yeah. If you are keeping a lot of photos and that's something that you want to try to limit to, then just use it as a paring down gauge to help you, but really putting these kind of boundaries, I think, on your own photo project, it is such a personal process.
It is, yes. And I think in that connection there, she also refers to, you don't want to keep photos of scenery and stuff like that. And I'm saying what you just mentioned with, if you've got a gathering or something. We're a family who travel a lot, and we do have heaps of landscape photos. If I delete them all, I would have quite a small library probably. Yeah. But, for the time being, for us, it would be wrong to throw them out. Yeah. As you mentioned, do what you feel is right for you. It's, I don't know.
And they can spark a lot of memories, really. Yeah. And so those shots, I'm probably blanket ruling on photo organising is not. It's more general concepts and things like that. So, we would do that one a bit differently.
Another big one that I think is, she says throw out the negatives. Ooh. That hurts. As photo organisers, we don't like to hear that.
Yeah. So why not, Chantal? Why would we say that we would do that differently?
Well, I always say to my clients, look, one reason is simply a backup. It's a cheap, easy backup because you have them. And I always say, look, you don't have to sort them or look at them. Just keep them in a box in one place. Just throw them in there. If you ever need one, then you can spend time, go and look for it. But I do recommend to keep them personally. And also, if you want to do kind of an especially good scan, or if you have a photo that you want to enlarge and print on a canvas or something, usually the scan of a negative is better than the scan of the printed photos that you might have. So that's my two main reasons I can think of. And look, we know they're not big. It's not like you're gonna fill a cupboard full of negatives. I don't know.
Yeah, they really, they can be stored easily, and sometimes, I've had a situation with a client too where we found negatives, and there were photos that really hadn't been printed,
right?
And not that she had anyway. They may have at some other point, and they're precious photos. They were just. It was such a treasure to find, and it really meant a lot. So, we're not big advocates to say just keep it because you don't know. I mean, go through that process. It doesn't take much to hold it up to the light, or you can get those. You can scan. You can just get them, take them down, and just have a quick look at at the local place that
There's
you've got
actually
somewhere.
an app that you can put on your phone and your tablet.
You can look at it.
Just remembered it.
Yes, that's right.
I think it's called Light Table, if I'm not mistaken.
Yep.
Yeah, so you can look at negatives and slides on your phone or on your tablet.
Yeah, and so it's
cool
to just have a quick look. That's great. Maybe we'll try and find that. We'll pop it in the show notes.
Yes, let's do that.
Yeah, we'll do that.
Yeah.
Wonderful. All right. So, what are some of the concepts that are brought up in the KonMari method regarding photos? We thought we'd just sort of go through that with you too. One of the quotes that one of the comments in the book. So we'll just read that out. It says, "We shouldn't still be sorting photos when we reach old age. If you too are leaving this task for when you grow old, don't wait. Do it now. You will enjoy the photos far more when you are old, when they are already in an album." Yay, we agree.
Yes, totally agree.
We do. And that comes back to our do something, just doing something, helping get those photos out of a box, out of an envelope and stuff like that is a perfect step. And so we just, big tick on that one. We agree with that.
Absolutely. That's true.
Yeah. What's something else that we...
Another one that she says, and she writes a bit more about that in her second book, to sort family photos together.
Yep.
So I'm a totally big advocate, obviously, for that. And especially if you've heard our previous episodes, I have mentioned it also in episode 6 when we talked about printed photos, how I did that whole process together with my mom.
Yes.
And so from personal experience, I know this is it's just such a beautiful experience to share stories, to do that huge job, because, let's be honest, it's not going to be done in 2 hours on a rainy Sunday afternoon. That's not going to happen. It does take time. But it's a beautiful way to connect. And since I've gone through that, I'm really a huge advocate for that. I say to everyone, when they want to sort their printed photos, especially, try, ask your kids. Maybe they're interested to do that with you. And it's really, I can only recommend it. It's really beautiful. It's
wonderful. Yeah, that's good. Yeah, so we like that too. We think that's definitely worth doing. One thing that was mentioned in the book where... she talks about saying that there's only one way to sort photos. And we're just here to say, there is no right or wrong with this. It really is what is working for you personally and your family and your situation. We're just here as professional photo organisers to encourage you to do something and to give some tips and some ideas and some strategies that have worked for us, and some best practices definitely along the way. But these are your photos, and they're your memories, and we just really, we just encourage you to sit with what works best for you. There's no right or wrong. That's we were saying before that there's no, KonMari police out there or Fiona and Chantal police out there that are going to say, hang on, let me look.
Oh, you're doing this all wrong.
I know.
No, we're not going to do that.
No, so we just really wanted to, encourage you that there is no right or wrong with this. It's just our heart to really see you and hear of those stories that people are saying, just doing something, moving through, that this is really helping to get people organised, and that's the end goal.
Yeah, that's right.
Yeah, the process of how to get there isn't as important as the end result that you're happy with, and they're on your shelves or you're sharing them, and
yeah, that's right.
So what was the other one? Oh, there was another comment.
There was another one that we wanted to quote too from the book. So it's saying, the meaning of a photo lies in the excitement and joy you feel when taking them. In many cases, the prints developed afterwards have already outlived their purpose.
So
that's an interesting statement.
It is.
A bit philosophical.
It is
possibly.
An interesting one. But you know what? The thing that I think of when I read that is actually, you posted that recently on. Yeah, you posted something funny recently on about the guy sharing. There was a YouTube clip.
And the comedian.
The comedian. We'll pop it on a link for people so they understand what we're laughing about.
Yes, that's a good point.
It is. Looking back at people's photos back older generation and maybe current and our future generation looking back on, oh, look at this photo of my breakfast. Oh, isn't that lovely? Or but I guess that comment that she's making there is that meaning of the photo lies in the excitement and the joy of taking the photo at the time.
Yes.
And so you like the meal. You snap a shot.
Yeah, awesome.
I know. But really, it's the keeping of it and it's not, and then maybe the printing of that photo at the time. And so I think that concept is what she's saying.
Yes. Yeah.
Is
and it's a really interesting thought. Yeah. I like it. Yeah.
What was the value at the time? And at the time, that very moment was very precious. Yes. And you've captured it. And it's almost like you took a mental shot. Sometimes I'll do that. I'll consciously stop and enjoy that moment that I'm in, knowing that it's almost like a mental photo that I'm taking. It's just something someone mentioned to me a long time ago.
I do that.
Do you really? It's true. You sort of almost just take a mental snapshot.
Yeah.
And it does. It cements it and it grounds it. And I think that's probably what she's going through.
I'm glad I'm not the only crazy one.
That's true. Oh dear.
No.
So
so there's some food for thought.
Have a think about that.
So about kind of going away from the more philosophical side. So what does that all mean for you guys when you want to work on your photos?
Yeah.
So Fiona, you've mentioned it before. It's really, we want to encourage you to know what you want. Again, that brings us back to your why. Really have a think before you start such a big project. Have a think, what do you want to reach? What do you want to achieve with it? Why are you doing this? Because it is a big project.
It is, and it could be, like we've talked about in that episode with space, it could be that you need more space and you don't want that. It could be that you just you can't find your favourite photos and you want to be able to share them. There's, it could be you're working on a particular project for somebody special that you're trying to find certain photos of them, and it really is, it's different for everyone. So definitely. One of the other things too is just to do something. Really, I think at the end of the day, we're here, you're listening to a podcast on photo organising for a reason. And so, if the KonMari method works for you, do it.
Absolutely.
It's like it's this, and if some of these tips and just that encouragement and motivation to just give it a go. Make some steps. Grab that logbook, like we keep talking about. Give yourself some tasks and just plow through it. Yeah.
And if you are a KonMari fan, and if you do start from the top with the clothes and go through the whole process, then we also really encourage you to stick to her sequence and do the photos last.
Yeah.
Because you will have new skills, your decluttering skills along the way, and that will be beneficial.
Yes. Yeah. There's a lot of learning and letting go of things in general, with when you're tidying and decluttering, and photos are no different.
Yeah.
So
I'm still learning.
Yeah, we all
getting better.
Yeah. Absolutely. So we finish off with there are no KonMari police out there. There's no Chantal and Fiona police, so just go for it.
Yeah, go for it. Tweak whatever method,
Yeah, exactly. So what are some of these things to remember just through this process and through this little chat today, Chantal?
Oh, okay, So we've got few little tips here
Yes.
to end with. So when you do decluttered photos, printed photos that is, remember that they cannot go into the recycling bin because of the chemicals they've used when they were developed. If you're a bit worried about identity theft, shred them by all means.
Yep.
If not, just throw them in the normal rubbish.
Yep.
Yes.
And another one to, if you're going through this process, donate some frames or, just do something else with those unused albums and things like that. Maybe take them down and, re-gift them or, to somebody
Charity.
else. Yep.
Yeah. And of course, and this is one of my kind of criticisms too of her whole thing, but in general, that she obviously has, looks at decluttering a lot, but not so much about how do I maintain the order once it's there. There's a bit of a lack of that factor, I think. And same with photos. We mentioned before, have a think what you want to do with them, and often that will be digitizing, scanning them, and then they will go into your digital photo hub. So she doesn't speak about that in the book, but obviously, we're big advocates for that because that's the only way to back up printed photos.
Yeah, exactly.
Basically. Yeah.
So, absolutely. So that comes in with that archiving them, properly and taking care of them, putting them in, just making sure you've got photos safe and, just being aware of all of those things that we've talked about before. So, and the other thing too, just to remember and just best practice, one of the reasons for doing this is as in the KonMari method, she talks about sparking joy. And so we're saying you can spark the joy with others and share it. And share those gorgeous photos out there and enjoy them. And so definitely remembering to have that as one of the things, just to be able to really enjoy and share them with others.
Yeah.
And what else have we got for those that have reached the end of our beautiful podcast?
You're still there. Thank you for your patience.
Yes, indeed.
Look, it's basically comes back to our 5 golden rules.
Yes.
And you might have already, downloaded something or maybe not. So we will share again our 5 golden rules as a freebie for you, so you can download it and use it as a guidance when you work with your photos maybe. So we'll put the link in the show notes, and if you want to re-listen, so it's our first 7 episodes, I think. They covered the 5 golden rules. So, by all means, go back and have another listen.
Yeah, wonderful. Fantastic. Well, thanks for joining us today on our DIY Photo Organising podcast, and we will look forward to chatting again. And please pop over to our Facebook page and all of our details. If you've got any questions, again, just ask us. We've had some great questions and conversations with people through reaching out to us. So, we're just grateful that we can share some knowledge and encouragement with your photos.
Absolutely.
All right. Thank you for listening.
See you next time.
Bye.
We hope you have enjoyed this episode of DIY Photo Organising and found some inspiration, useful tips and strategies to support your photo projects.
We'd love to invite you to pop over to our Facebook page, DIY Photo Organising, and we welcome your questions, feedback, and any future topics that you'd like us to cover. If there is someone you'd love to share this with, please click on share to help others take control of their photos too. Remember, have a look through our show notes for links to helpful information. I'm Fiona from Photo Helper.
And I'm Chantal from Simply in Order Photo Organising. And remember, we believe in you and you can do this.